Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Hi, my name is Bonnie Stevenson. I'm one of the counselors here at Sycamore High School. Thank you for coming out tonight for our CCP information meeting. Glad to see everybody here. We're going to go through some slides from Ohio Department of Education, a lot of general information about CCP. At the end, I've got one slide that's about Sycamore-specific things and how we handle CCP, and we plan to have some time for questions. As we get started, I want to introduce these two people here. This is Cindy Jones. She's from UC Blue Ash and partners with us with the CCP program. And this is Tim Mott from Cincinnati State. And they're really knowledgeable about CCP, and we're really lucky to have them here with us tonight. Also, a couple other Sycamore people. Dr. Mack is in the back there. Mark Millette, one of our other counselors, is in the back. And Ann DK, are you still in here?
She is. She's funneling people in.
Okay, Ann DK.
Right here.
There she is, Ann DK. Okay, so, again, here are the people that are going to take it from here. And I hope you enjoy their information. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. So, as was mentioned, this presentation was put together by our colleagues at the Ohio Department of Higher Education in collaboration with the Ohio Department of Education. And so what we're here to talk about is a state sponsored College Credit Plus program that's made available to high school students and their families all across the state of Ohio. Every college that participates backs into a CCP program that's initially driven by the state. So we're talking about the state's program, but we're here to also talk about how it represents itself at each of our colleges. I have to say this about me here because this is my home high school. I live in Sycamore. My kids were 2006, 2008 graduates out of here. How many of you have younger kids here at the high school? How many of you have freshmen at the high school this year? Sophomores? Juniors? Okay, so that's pretty split. Okay? So it's important to us to have a little bit of background, but I did learn once around 2008, they do go on to another world. Oddly, coincidentally, my daughter's assistant principal at Fairfield High School, and one of her assignments is the College Credit Plus program. So talk about weirdness where I have to end up going to one of our school partners and deal with my daughter, even when I don't agree with her sometimes. But it's all fun. Okay, so anyway, College Credit Plus. Really, the background of the program is the students can enroll in college courses when they're ready and get college credit for the college course, and also corresponding high school credit for that college course. Cindy and I are going to tag team. Like I said, they're going to just leading the presentation, but we're going to kind of go back and forth whenever we have an opportunity to talk about distinctions between one college over another. Going to breeze through some of this because it's somewhat straightforward, but we're going to have, feel free to ask questions along the way, but we'll have time certainly at the end for any questions that you pick up along the way. It's really, the program's available for students 7 through 12th grade. Available to participate in any public college or private colleges that do participate in the program. But the key point here is that if students choose to participate in College Credit Plus while they're in high school, they're actually enrolling with a college, whether it be enrolling with Cincinnati State or with the University of Cincinnati, if they choose to participate. So it's really a collaboration between the student school district and the college or university that the student participates with. And then the student, just quick background, we'll get into more details, but the students can choose any variety of college level courses that the student is eligible to participate in. So we're going to talk about requirements to participate in the program and what it means to be eligible to participate in courses. Clearly, I think everybody in this room, we're caught the last criteria off the bat, everybody's an Ohio resident. The key to being an Ohio resident, I'll state right at the bat, there is no cost for students to participate in the College Credit Plus program. So that's usually one of the initial themes that piques people's interest. As I mentioned, satisfies both high school requirements and the college requirements. Basically what happens when a student completes a college course is the high school awards corresponding high school credit for that course, based on a table and a standard, not based on something that's being made up. But if a 3-credit college course is taken and successfully completed, then the student would receive 1 high school credit unit for that same course. The course has to be successfully completed in order for the student to gain the high school credit. So we're going to talk about students doing well in the College Credit Plus program and ramifications of that. College Credit Plus going into the next school year. We're talking right now about next school year. So the semesters, the enrollment periods that are eligible for next school year for your sons and daughters are the terms that come up this summer. We call that summer semester, and a few alternative sessions within that summer semester.
Absolutely, there are flex sessions over at UC Blue Ash where not the entire summer, but maybe for 6 weeks, 7 weeks. So for that year, it's going to be classes for the summer, classes for the fall, and classes for the spring. That's going to be the 1920 school year. Your CCP student would be admitted should they decide to apply.
Right, so that we want to, any questions you have about summer, make sure you ask those, because that's a pretty quick turnaround time to participate in summer. But it's summer semester and the corresponding terms within the summer, fall semester next year, and then spring semester next year. So there's really 3 enrollment periods where students that are eligible to participate have access to enroll in college courses. There are multiple delivery methods of college courses. All college courses are college courses, but each of us, UC and Cincinnati State, we offer courses in a variety of ways. We offer courses on Cincinnati State, we offer courses at Cincinnati State, at our main campus down in Clifton, at our Middletown campus, at our Harrison campus where we have an aviation maintenance program, and we also offer courses online. In addition, we offer many of our college course sections in our high school partner locations. And we'll get to a couple of examples of that here where we're offering a couple of college course sections here at Sycamore High School.
And for those who are interested in the University of Cincinnati Blue Ash, we offer classes online as well as on our lovely suburban campus. You do have that option also to take classes over at the Clifton campus where they do have some in high school partnerships, but again, you will have those classes online or on the classroom. And then of course we have our Claremont partners who do have those in high school partnerships as well as online as well as on campus.
One thing I know we agree on is that regardless of how a student participates in a College Credit Plus course, the course is a college course. It doesn't matter whether the student's taking an English comp course at the college campus or online or at a high school location. It is the same college course with the same college syllabus, with the same college expectations, same assessment levels, same college standards, same college text in many cases. Okay? So what we talk about is really the mode of delivery or even the location of delivery. That's the variable. But the content is driven by the college, and the college credit is aligned at the college level, and then award the equivalent credit at the high school. Little awkward position here, so I apologize. So that's the background. We're going to just run through quickly the steps. The steps are essentially the same, although there's lots of just twists and turns depending on the college that one's working with. The first step to participate, I mean really, literally tonight, is to determine whether the student's eligible for College Credit Plus participation based on examination scores. Many of you don't know what that is. Those are right now. Younger students have been they didn't even get to that point yet. If anybody might have done already an ACT or an SAT score, they might have a score. That's two of the scores that we use. Cincinnati State uses an AccuPlacer score, an AccuPlacer exam score for placement purposes.
UC uses the ACT or the SAT metrics. If those students do want to participate in the in-high school, there are separate testing assessments that AccuPlacer is used, but that's only for those in-high school partnerships.
So we'll get into the details, but basically step one is determining eligibility. Again, taking the test isn't necessarily the first thing you do, but applying to the college is something, that would be our first step. And that could be done anytime now. You could do it online right now if your son or daughter is here. But applying to the college for us would be the first step, and the second step would be forward any known placement tests that are already available, and if none are available, make arrangements for AccuPlacer testing with Cincinnati State. Similar kind of process, apply,
Absolutely.
transfer the scores, or have the scores sent to UC, or make arrangements for that testing to be done. These are the state's varieties of placement tests, but the most common that we see are ACT and AccuPlacer. SAT is also fairly recognizable. The others we don't see very often. You probably don't see them as well. And then each college or university has different exam requirements. This is where we at Cincinnati State, if a student applies with us and they have no background, our standard would be make arrangements for an AccuPlacer exam. The score would determine the next steps in the process.
Absolutely, and we'll be happy to answer these questions about the different application processes for each university because they do differ.
And the basics points there is the score on the score is going to determine eligibility to participate in the program. And so the results of that process are where we go. That's where we sort the conversations after that. The exam scores are not entirely the only metric. Sometimes if students are close, they can be recommended by counselors, recommended with GPAs, recommended through other sources and other means, but our starting point is almost essentially the exam scores.
Exactly.
Step two.
Students must apply for admission to whichever program they're planning on participating in. If they want to participate at Cincinnati State, they will go through their admissions process. If they want to participate at UC Blue Ash, they will go through our process. One of the questions that I've had from students who participated in a program at another university, can I take a class at your school because I'm already in a CCP program? You must go through the admissions process for whichever university your student wants to attend. And then one of the things, be sure to take a look at the deadlines. Some colleges do have very specific deadlines. UC has a deadline. So for your Sycamore students, that's going to be May the 1st, and that is a hard deadline. But definitely, you want to know that your colleges do have that final decision, making a holistic decision on your student, and that's going to be everything holistically.
We're probably both saying the same thing. If anybody is interested at the end of this meeting, the really first step would be to initiate the application process.
Absolutely.
I know in our case, there is no obligation once you apply, get to it, even down to an admit standpoint, there is no obligation to move beyond that. Application is just applying to the program. It's not deciding on a course. It's not getting you committed to materials or equipment or any of those kinds of things. It's just to determine whether this is a program that's going to fit, and it's going to get you an invite to advising, to talk with advisors about options and possibilities that seem appropriate for your son or daughter.
And that's agreed, Tim. Just because a student is admitted into the College Credit Plus program, it does not mean that they have to enroll in classes. It may just not be the correct timing, but just having them in the program, that's wonderful.
Okay, as we mentioned, courses can satisfy high school graduation requirements. This is where the school counselors come in to help. CCP students don't participate in CCP with colleges all by themselves. There is almost always a family involvement, and there's always high school counselor involvement in the process. This is not a random selection. It's not an unknown. There are a lot of connections and a lot of backup processes in case a student gets into a course or drops or adds a course. There's feedback mechanisms back to the high school counselor. The purpose, again, is that the student is participating in a college course, but that college course is also counting for high school credit and high school graduation.
And we have been working very cooperatively with the high school guidance counselors. We have formed great partnerships. Tim at Cincinnati State, and we do work very, very closely with the parents, with the guidance counselors, trying to make sure that we are working together to ensure your students' success on both campuses. Cincinnati State and UC, here we all work together.
The comment up there about schools might have additional requirements in addition to the state minimum, that sounds like an important thing, but it's not, I can't think of anything that's particularly relevant for me to talk about here. We have a couple of courses that are here in the high school. An example of that might be high school's running one course, one section. Everybody can't get into that one section. The high school might impose a specific process in order to identify student populations that might get into a section. But we don't see that particularly being an issue in general conversations. We mentioned the college advisor. All colleges will have an advising component. It's usually I think in our case, the advising component kicks in after we know the information from the admissions application. We know who the student is, we know what their eligibility background is, and then our advisors help talk to the students about options, courses, and preferences.
And there's great literature on the CCP website about course eligibility. As of February of last year, there was the first 15 rule that's implemented. I encourage everyone to go to the Ohio State of Education CCP website to read about all of those changes that happened in House Bill 49. Level 1 classes, Level 1-2 classes, which it does detail. Level 1 classes are students must have 15 hours in Level 1 classes or of AP credit, other CCP credit before they can progress to Level 2. That's to ensure that students are being successful in those classes. I encourage you all to go to the website to read up about the first 15 rule. You will also get guidance. There are courses that will have prerequisites on them, if there are enrollment prerequisites, and that would be, let's say, Calculus 2. They would have to have Calculus 1 to get into Calculus 2. So you're going to have always those prerequisites, those enrollment restrictions. But again, those Level 1, Level 2 classes, I encourage you to read about those.
One of the areas, a common question that comes up with a lot of initial conversations at Cincinnati State, for example, is we have a very popular nursing program. We have a culinary program that has a lot of draw and following. A lot of times parents will say, it sounds like something my son or daughter might be interested in. Are those courses eligible? They're not Level 1 course. The courses that would be Level 1 would be the preparatory courses like the initial anatomy and physiology, the bio, the chem, the English, the math. Those would be the introductory level courses. In our case, some of those specialty programs are reserved for students that are admitted into the program. CCP students aren't yet admitted into a degree program. They're participating in the College Credit Plus program. So, I mean, it's just practical matters sometimes also help sort students. Okay. No, not at all.
Level 1. Good evening, everybody. My name is Fred Cox. I am a representative from Sinclair Community College, and I too work with my peers as it pertains to College Credit Plus. And so I'm glad that everybody got their folders. The only thing that I wanted to interject as it pertains to Level 1 courses, those first 15 credits are defined by 3 things, what we call OTM, Ohio Transfer Modular courses, TAG courses, which are Transfer Assurance Guide courses, and then CTAG courses, which are career technical courses that become articulated credit once they transfer over to a college. And the reason why they implemented that rule for Level 1 courses is because students, before this law was implemented, were taking a variety of courses that really was not guiding them towards a certificate and or a degree. So they graduate high school with 60 credits, transfer over to a 4-year college, and then not have those 60 credits go towards their core curriculum. So the state did this in order to guide students really towards identifying a major and or a certificate that they're interested in attaining. So if you're questioning why would they force us to take these first Level 1 courses, it's just for the intentionality to make sure that you're really getting the best bang out of your buck as it pertains to the program.
When everything finally hits the rubber and rubber hits the road, most of the students are routed to the Level 1 courses anyway. They're a natural progression. Students don't know what their areas are going to be. These are the natural courses that fit in a variety of programs. The categories are listed up there, and any of our Level 1 courses fall into those categories, very similar. So, all right. Went through there. There are a set of non-allowable courses if students are exploring a college catalog. At least for us, it's easier to describe once you get beyond Level 1. It's easier to describe what's not allowable. But these are the run through there. Remedial courses are our most common question. Students see catalog descriptions of courses and they think, wow, that course looks like a good one, but it's considered to be a remedial or a foundations course in our curriculum, and those aren't eligible in the College Credit Plus program.
Physical education program, physical education courses, religion courses, remedial courses, study abroad,
You got an example? Yeah.
not allowed to take those through the CCP program.
All right. Grades. Key here is that the grades earned in the college course, the students taking the college course over the semester, the grade that's earned for the college course is translated and transferred in the high school's corresponding transcript. Okay, so again, students taking a college course, but they're getting value at the high school as well. That translates into terms of credit award and also grade award. The key of here is that the grades then are factored into both the college GPA, that's a running GPA, and the high school GPA. Okay? Grades are weighted. If a high school has a similar course that's weighted, then a college credit plus course would be weighted as well on the high school transcript. Again, I think the reinforcement here is the key is students have to also graduate high school. It's great that they're having an opportunity to participate in college credit, earn college credit, even have college credit earned in a pathway to a degree or certificate program. But the student's primary obligation is still graduating high school. And so sometimes students get all excited about the college opportunity and the excitement about the options available to them. But what they really need is this course over here to graduate high school. End of course exams, if those are components of the high school curriculum, they remain components of the high school curriculum in most cases. There are a couple of college courses that will satisfy that end of course, but in most cases you want to think about if there are end of course exams, those are still going to be something that the students need to participate in. There is a cap, there is a limit, there's a maximum. Basically 30 semester credits of college courses in a given year is the maximum. We don't have that many students maxing out at that. It happens, we have some, it's watched, all of us, right?
Absolutely. And one of the things to include is that the 30 hours is enrollment. So if your student is taking so many classes in the high school, that's 30 hours of enrollment for that year. So you want to make sure if the student is not in any high school classes, only on the campus, certainly that's 30 credit hours. But if that student is enrolled in classes on the high school, you must work with your guidance counselor very closely to make sure that the 30-hour enrollment is not exceeded. So it's not going to be 30 hours of college credit.
If it is exceeded, though, if it is exceeded, you have the opportunity to self-pay. And so you can't go over those 30 credit hours, but at that point in time, it would no longer be eligible for the school district to pay. And so you do have that option. You want to be aware of that, though, specifically because not only are you starting a college transcript, but you're also starting a financial aid package. And so that could impact your student if they are not intentionally taking credits towards a certificate or a degree long term.
This is where the collaboration between the students, families, high schools, and college really comes into play. Because it is quite possible when a student gets comfortable with their college that they're working directly with advisors, and the advisors are working with the students, and their students are doing well, and we all have students that are just plowing right through college degree requirements, even while they're still in high school. But there's always a feedback loop that goes through the counselors, so the counselors can be seeing if a student somehow adds a course after a semester starts and the course puts them over a 30 credit max, that's going to get identified. It's possible that a student could be registered at both Cincinnati State and UC, or St. Clair and UC, and colleges, our records don't speak with one another, but the intermediate point spot is the counseling office here. So that collaboration is really essential to make this seamless and smooth transition. Our experience is we don't have too many troubles like this, but as you pointed out, that it is still possible to do. It gets into the maximum of what is eligible under the program, which is a funded program that the district supports. Okay? Beyond that, what students and families want to do with the college was always available. Okay, moving on. I think we hit that one. Here's where we get to the differences. This is, I was pleased that the state inserted these slides because 4 years ago when this program was brand new, we were all searching for the rules, the policies, the regulations, the options, and one of the things that we all knew, and the high schools knew, is that college and high school are not the same thing. And so it was really initially hard to push this conversation to hundreds and hundreds of families, and it became very easy to get students in college, but then we learned that there are big distinctions that we wanted to reinforce, and the state reinforced it in their own presentation, so we thought we'd spend just a few minutes on this. Tests or assessments, difference between high school and college. There are many college courses that students will take, and there's only several primary graded assessments, maybe like a midterm and a final exam, or a couple of projects and a final, or something along the way. There's not a lot of daily, weekly, monthly checkpoints like that might be recognizable in a high school course. You all still use Blackboard systems. You have tools here where parents can log on and see how kids are doing. Those don't exist in college environments.
No, they don't. So if a student wants to keep track of their grades in Blackboard, they can do that if that instructor does list those individual grades. But for the most part, no. I like to say that students, the big difference between high school and college, those weekly assessments really are not in college. Students are given the opportunity to think critically. So they're teaching themselves to think in a different way. Those assessments are given more infrequently, and yet it's teaching that student to think in a different way. So those are the big differences I try to tell students when they come, to expect to start thinking creatively, to start thinking critically. It is going to be different. And for parents who want to have grades, that's where you're going to have that great communication with your student, because they will be your vehicle of information.
And then in terms of study time, I think this is a big variable. Both my daughter was an athlete here, and I knew she spent most of her time doing homework in the gymnasiums and the practice fields, and so there's homework involved in high school, but in college there's expected to be, for every hour in the classroom, there's expected to be a couple or more hours of activity for reading preparation, study, outside of the classroom. If you're in a college course for 3 hours a week, you're looking at 6 or more hours for preparation in preparing for that course session, and homework and activities and assignments beyond that.
And that's a great point, Tim, because when you think about a college credit plus class, the class may only meet twice a week for an hour and a half, but you must factor in that study time that's needed. If your student is heavily involved in sports, other activities outside, you have to think about, can that schedule accommodate 6 hours of study for one class, 12 hours for two? Those are the things to think about.
And then, according to this, knowledge acquisition, high school information is provided mostly in, out-of-class research is minimal. Quite often in a college course, it could be the reverse. Talk about a flipped classroom. A lot of times the college course is putting content online. Students have ready access to that online, and in all of our schools, the same thing is true, right? Students are accessing content in a variety of formats, and what's happening in the classroom might be a focused study activities or engagement or applied actions that are guided during the few hours that the students are together. Online courses are very popular also to College Credit Plus high school students. Those add a whole different element to this particular discussion. Basic point is there's not as much individual guidance in the college course. There's more students needing to navigate the process, the learning process independently.
And I always say your student must be able to be proactive for themselves. They have to be able to advocate for themselves. Because those calendars between the high school and the college will never align. The student's going to have a certain amount of maturity to be able to time manage those calendars, deadlines, in order to be successful. If a parent wants to reach out to the instructor saying, oh, he's not going to be in class, won't take it. Your student must advocate for themselves.
You also have to prepare and be patient as it pertains to response time. So differently than high school, where you will see that teacher tomorrow, you can go and get your answer tomorrow. We have a policy specifically at Sinclair for about a 48-hour response period. Typically, we have parents reach out to our office and say, can you contact that professor? I can contact the chair and say, hey, they're saying they're not getting a response. That information goes down to a professor. So there's still this process in which a student at times must be patient as it pertains to an answer. So students have to be comfortable advocating for themselves and being patient for a response, very similar to what our experiences are as adults.
And then in grades, in college courses, again, grades are calculated on a whole variety of ways. There's no real set standard. The rule in a college course is that the grading process is outlined in a syllabus that drives all content about a specific course. And so a lot of times students new to a college environment aren't necessarily used to understanding the ramifications of a college syllabus. They're used to their high school environment where they're going to be guided through daily activities, weekly activities, monthly activities, quarterly report cards that are going to cumulatively roll up to a semester and then a year. This is different. And so any of your sons or daughters that might participate in a college course as part of the College Credit Plus program, it would be wise to actually, if you're used to checking on what they're expected to do in high school, it'd be wise to check their syllabus and see the kinds of activities that they're going to be graded on. Not just participating in, but the graded on activities that are going to be warranted for their college course grade.
And a nice caveat I'd like to say, your student, once they start a college class, instantly they're protected by the Privacy Education Law of 1974 FERPA. Make sure, I like to say, have that great conversation with your student so that you have access. If they give it to you, those grades, once they become posted, any information, without that access, we would have to refer you to your guidance counselor. We will have that conversation with you. Once that class starts, a student instantly is protected. The students are not to have a different, the CCP students are not to have that differentiation between high school, between other college students. They have all the rights and privileges of college students, including privacy. FERPA 1974.
Absolutely, and so that gives just a little bit of context. FERPA not only allows us to protect your students' information, it also allows us to protect your students physically, right? So the law was enacted because an individual portrayed to be a parent found out information about where a student was and then went to hurt that student. So this is the only way in which we can ensure that your student won't be hurt. I can tell you, Sinclair as an institution, we are certainly trying to find ways to empathize with our parents who are participating in this program, right? So I'll give you an example. There's plenty of times where I get a phone call and I hear a button press and I hear, ask him what your math grade was. And I hear, Mr. Cox, can you tell me what I got in math? And I say, hey, you got it. Ask him what your English class was. And I am talking to that student, but I know that it's a speakerphone conversation. So I am not necessarily saying that that is the mode of operation that will happen in your household, but there are mediums to find, but no, I would not be able to take a phone call from you and just be able to give you all of your students' grades. But if they're there, I will talk to them, and whatever information you need, as long as they ask me, I will provide.
I'd be willing to bet all of our experiences are very similar, but Cincinnati State, our average student age is 27 years old, and our college is not used to dealing with parents running alongside. We have learned a lot in the last 4 years, for sure. It's fascinating. Sometimes our faculty are so willing to just unfold and have anybody help that they can possibly help. It's almost like, hold on here. There's actually, we got to pull back here.
But what's so amazing is the transformation you see in the students, the young ones. with the responsibility that they have. So once they have that little bit of adjustment period, they grow, they blossom, they take it, and you would be surprised. Our CCP students on our campus are some of the best students because, yeah, they're wonderful. So give them that opportunity to test themselves and learn.
So here we're going to talk about the benefits. I think you probably have caught on to many of the benefits, right? This is a fabulous program. We all had our apprehensions when this was launched in the first year because they launched it before they wrote new rules for it. But since I have a mic in my hand, I'll say one of my personal viewpoints is that College Credit Plus wasn't really designed so that students can just take as many college course credits as they can possibly get. That's not the game, that's not the goal, that's not the priority. But what really is available here is that a student can start direction on a pathway to a certificate or a degree program when they're ready to start on that pathway to the certificate or the degree program. Never did students say that there was never a rule that says students aren't ready for college until they graduate high school. That was a process that was written into the protocol, but many students were ready for college courses even while they're in high school. This program enables it to happen. It's really ideal when the students are participating in courses that are in the direction of a pathway that they're likely to be going. That doesn't mean that they need to know their major today. None of us will ask them what they're going to major in. We'll be curious to know what they're interested in, what directions they might be headed. Some students know exactly that they want to be business majors, they want to go to medical school, or they want to be a lawyer, or they want to be... Some students know that, but the courses that we're talking about that are most popular in College Credit Plus environments all around the state are the most commonly transferred gen ed courses that you find anywhere in the country. They're English courses, they're mathematics courses, they're science courses like bio, chem, physics, they're psychology courses, they're sociology, they're history, they're political science. These are courses that are part of every gen ed program in the country, and they transfer freely from place to place. In Ohio, there's even an added element of transfer assurance in those gen ed transfers, as you mentioned. But the key is getting an early start on the college degree. A student doesn't need to know their major to know that they're going to need English in whatever their major is going to be. And English is also a high school subject, so that's where it really fits, right? So that's the idea.
And what I would like to also say that Ohio families, since the inception of CCP, have saved $262 million. That's incredible. That's really incredible. But for myself, I have a freshman at Duke, high-achieving student who I wish had taken CCP classes. What the real benefit I find of CCP, they get the experience of being a student. They get the experience of being a college student, which makes that transition into college easier. So my high-achieving student still had a rocky transition her freshman year. That's my belief of the true benefit of CCP. But you can't argue with $262 million either.
You're not even looking at the slide, that's what that says. It is just, it's mind-boggling, this cost savings. It is just, we see these students all the time and see what they've learned. We know what their tuition charges and fees will be for what they're taking at our schools, and there's zero. Everything is zeroed out. It's fascinating.
Ohio. This is Ohio.
Ohio.
That's incredible. About 70,000 students participate statewide. So a lot of students. Yeah, it's going on. It's incredible.
Okay, there are consequences, though. We always want to try to emphasize it's not all roses. There are risks. All of our processes are directed toward trying to identify the students that are ready to participate. And ready means more than just a test score to us. It means that the students can participate at a level where they're going to be able to ask their own questions and engage at their own level and be able to navigate on their own behalf with whatever college they're participating in. If a student fails or withdraws late from the course, that's a possibility. But in some cases, so do you have a reimbursement policy? So it says the student may be charged for a course that was lost to the district if a student fails. That's entirely up to the district. That's what Bonnie's saying is it hasn't been in practice in the past. But anyway, the point there is whether there's a charge or not a charge, there's a failure and there's a withdrawal on the student's record. So we don't want that to happen. We want to make sure that the process that we're working on is reasonably likely to let a student succeed in the course that we're helping them get into, and that there's enough infrastructure involved and there's enough engagement between the students and the parents and the counselors and the college to ensure that if the student needs to change course, that change is made early, and we protect everything along the way. Okay. Okay, we talked about that. That's unique to the school district. There is something new this year. It's not new to you if you're hearing about this for the first time. But for us and for the school district, this is particularly a school district issue. If a student participates in College Credit Plus and they don't perform well as defined as passing courses with C's, B's, and A's, they end up risking a below 2.0 GPA. And every school district has a probation policy for CCP that aligns with the state's obligation. The point here is that if the student's not doing well and they drop below a 2.0 GPA, there's an opportunity guided by the rules that enables the school district to say you can't participate again until you cure something. So it might be allowing the student to take one course instead of 3, and not the same course that you just failed until you figured out what's going on here. Okay. So
and if you do go to the state's website, they have a great, maybe 6-minute video that details about performance and the consequences of the performance. I think the state has done a wonderful job of presenting that for families.
that's really the best information on there. All of this is available on the state's website, so I encourage you to look at that section. All part of the probation dismissal appeals. There's an appeals process. They went overboard with that one, didn't they? What are the expenses for College Credit Plus? That's easy. There's none. This is where I always say also, a lot of people will say this is a great way to participate in college for free, but I don't consider this free. There's nothing free about College Credit Plus. The beauty for you is there's no cost to the family or the student, but there's a great cost to the colleges and there's a great cost to the school districts. What's really happening behind the scenes is there's money exchanging between the colleges and the school districts for the students that participate based on the method of participation, the mode of delivery, and the and other things. Okay.
Now, there may be an incidental cost. Let's just say your student is interested in going to UC Clifton, a great course selection there, but parking is not part of your CCP program. So I would look at that parking because it can be substantial. UC Blue Ash, our parking is free too.
Not the same. Yeah, that's one of the only charges at our place. But it does include even books. There's really rules written into the laws that students can't even purchase required books. That's a little bit of a hard one because sometimes a course doesn't involve just books. It involves other things, and it's hard to figure out who's responsible for the other things. But that's a work in progress. Anyway.
And I did want to say, I just heard this about the shuttle. UC Blue Ash does have a shuttle that goes down to Clifton regularly, 7:30 in the morning until maybe about 10 o'clock at night. But if your student is admitted into the CCP program at Clifton, they will not get a Blue Ash parking pass. So you will need to drop them off. If they park, they're going to get ticketed.
How many are you going to the AP meeting next? Okay, we're at the end here, so feel free to ask questions you have. This was talking about when a student participates, any student that participates in the College Credit Plus program with Cincinnati State, with UC, with Miami U, anywhere, they're college students at that school. And as college students, they have access to all of the normal college programs, services that all students at that school have available. Sometimes the wonderful things at most of our schools is college library. The students access college library services just like any other student. For a high school student to be accessing a college library, they can also use that college library for everything else that they're doing, even in their other high school courses.
And I think all of our campuses do. They offer resource labs, math, reading, chemistry, biology, foreign language. So all types of resources in place to make sure that your student has the assistance right at their fingertips to ensure they're successful.
No problem. Yeah, and I didn't get to interject earlier, but Sinclair Community College, we do not have any restricted courses here at Sycamore High School, but we offer two modalities that could be beneficial to this community. Of course, our online courses, and I point out online because we're an open enrollment institution, so where some of our partners have hard deadlines, we don't. And so for those students who may decide in the middle of the summer that, hey, I'm really interested in taking a College Credit Plus course and I'm no longer eligible to go to another institution on the basis of a deadline, Sinclair is definitely an option. We also open a ton of our online sections for those OTM courses that we spoke about earlier that are those level 1 courses, so specifically those English, math, and or humanities courses and things of that such. The second modality is, of course, our Mason location, which is much closer to Sycamore and allows students to be able to take courses on campus. And so I just want to interject that while Sinclair does not have a presence here daily, there's definitely opportunities for us to partner with this community in a way that is successful for your students.
Anybody have student athletes? I'm not gonna dwell on it, but if you have a student athlete and interested in participating in College Credit Plus, read the student athletic information on the state's College Credit Plus page. Talk to your counselors about those. There are sometimes unique athletic eligibility requirements to participating in College Credit Plus. I think we hit all of these things. College ready means more than this. There is if you're interested, I would say the first thing to do is inquire with the college that you're interested in, look at their admissions expectations, their process, their dates. We're both May 1st for fall semester. If you're talking about Indy's summer interest now, like tonight, would be a good time to start completing the application process because all that information has to be gathered with meetings with advisors up front early in order to start summer. Same true, Fred? I mean, summer, or if you're talking about soon.
But there is an intent to participate form that is required.
And this is it. Hopefully everybody got one.
And that's an April 1st deadline.
Letter of intent.
Do they have this presentation?
It's going to be posted online.
Yeah.
Actually,
So-
your guys' comments and everything.
This is the site right to this presentation here and to the Ohio's information. Cincinnati State's doing financial accounting, managerial accounting here at the high school, so any of your sons or daughters that are interested in maybe thinking about business or similar program for college, that might be something here in the high school curriculum that they might route themselves to, is the accounting.
Could you put that site back up?
Sorry?
The site name. Thank you.
Quick questions? Any general questions, specific questions? Anything that we didn't touch on?
I just want to state that my business card is inside of our folder on the left panel. If you all have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. It's my direct line.
And I want to say I'm representing the UC Blue Ash campus as well as the UC Clifton campus. I do have some materials out. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. We are your good neighbor here in the Blue Ash community. UC is celebrating 200 years in the city. UC requires ACT or SAT, those metrics that are defined by the state. I will tell you it is Math 22, Reading 22, English 18. Should you decide to take the SAT, that's 480 on the reading writing combo and 530 on the math.
I want to say one thing about, so all of our juniors are going to take the ACT, the real ACT that you can submit to colleges on March 12th. It is highly suggested that they add, if they want to do College Credit Plus through an institution, add that so that the scores are automatically sent to those universities. Because that will ensure, hopefully, fingers crossed, it should, that it arrives at the university in time for their May 1st deadlines.
And then test you have 10 schools that you can put specific scores directly to if that's where you want to add the institutions. Even if you're considering thinking
Right.
an institution, put that down there.
No downside to adding those schools ahead of time.
We just don't encourage you to start the application process, even if those scores are coming later. That can be something that can be added to the process, but there's still other information that we can help with this. We can work with the school and saying, here are the students that have applied, let's prepare for that, yeah.
And I will say to that too, getting this form turned in, it's due by April 1st, but don't wait till then. I mean, once we have this in, we kind of know who's participating in College Credit Plus. That helps us.
So again, this will be posted online on our website as well, on our counselor's website, and it's also posted on the state. But if you have any questions, you can reach out to Bonnie Stevenson or myself or any other counselor here if you have any questions.
I just have a general question. So which colleges and universities does this transfer to? Is it just Ohio?
And that's a very good question. This program is a state of Ohio initiative. So any public colleges within the state of Ohio, this credit is guaranteed to transfer. However, if you are interested in a private school here in the state of Ohio or out of state, it's always great to ask those questions when you go to those admissions offices. One of the questions I wish I had asked when I had taken my daughter on her college trips, how do you take in that ACT credit? Because, I mean, the AP credit, because we didn't have CCP, AP. Duke said too. We had a wealth of credits that we had to just say goodbye to that money. So again, as you're asking about CCP credit, ask about AP credit as well. If you're looking private or out of the state.
I would agree. And colleges are used to answering that question no matter where you might be going. You can call colleges' admissions offices in California and say, my son or daughter is taking a course as part of a high school program that's a college course at UC or Cincinnati State or Sinclair. The course number is ENG 101 or whatever it may be. What will you do with it when you see it? Yeah.
There's also a website that you all can utilize. It's called transferology.com. That website is transferology.com. You can go on that website and literally type in Sinclair Community College, English 1101, and you can say, I want to see what that transfers over at Cincinnati State or at the University of Cincinnati, and then we'll tell you exactly what that course is called over at that college. So it may give you a little bit more room when you call that college to say, hey, we're taking English 1101 at Sinclair. I see you have this. Will it be comparable? So you don't have to depend on them to let you know whether they have a course that is lateral or not.
And is that out of state too?
That is out. That it will let you know
Anyone.
nationally
Anyone.
where these courses, what they transfer like. You still need to contact the college to see if they will accept it, but they'll just tell you whether they have a lateral course or not.
To give you time to get there, we'll be here. We'll stay right here. If
Questions,
anybody has any
absolutely.
specific
626,
questions,
if anyone has
just
any
come on
questions
down.
for us, and UC does have information out on the table along with Cincinnati State.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.